All right, fellas, welcome to week 7 of NFL points, picks, and props. That is Ben over my right shoulder. That is Tommy over my left shoulder. I am Kyle Garland in Denver, Colorado. We've got 3 time zones covered. We're going to cover 13 games, 12 of them on Sunday, then the Monday night game. And guys, we are past the third poll mark. I don't know if that's really a thing, but since we can no longer do quarters now that they've gone to 17 games, third poll, we have 1/3 of the season is gone. We now know who these teams are. We know who they are trying to get to by the beginning of January. And look, Ben, I don't want to. I'm not twisting the knife, but the biggest story of the season so far has got to be the Denver Broncos. They made the biggest splash in the offseason. They made the absolute biggest, one of the biggest acquisitions probably since they got Peyton Manning, and they were a quarterback away. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, certainly the best quarterback available. And after 6 weeks, I just don't know what to make of them.
Yeah, I don't think any of Broncos country knows what to make of it either. I think the signs are pretty obvious of what's occurring, but we're gonna keep holding out hope because there's no draft picks for the foreseeable future. So to give us all hope to live another day and to want to wake up to watch the Broncos in another game, we're just going to pretend like anything can happen because we got a London game coming up here soon, and I don't know anyone who wants to wake up early to watch that.
Well, and the bloom has come off the Jacksonville Rose as well. So yeah, that may be a very low rated London game. Tommy, your neck of the woods. All of a sudden, the New England Patriots are good. How are people in Massachusetts feeling about this? The new Patriots and Bailey Zappi.
There is an interestingly large amount of people considering Zappi to be the full-time starter for the Patriots. And I'm, as much as I think that's a lot of recency bias, I mean, last week he really proved it. He really proved that he can throw the ball if he needs to, and I think it gives a lot of security for New England. And trust me, a lot of these Massachusetts people are very, very happy.
Well, if it was any of the other 31 teams, I would say absolutely not. They've invested a first-round pick in Mac Jones. He was Rookie of the Year. There's no way they are going away from that. But Bill Belichick does not operate like the other 31 teams.
He's got a track record.
Who knows? He could easily jettison. I mean, well, and the fact is he's not paying. These are guys on rookie contracts. Why not have both of them for the next couple of years? Nothing is beyond Bill Belichick.
Nothing.
All right, so guys, week 7. Not quite the same marquee matchups that we had last week in terms of Bills Chiefs and Eagles Cowboys, but we do have some good games. Obviously, it's football. We're all going to watch because we love it. So we begin week 7 as we do each week with our game. This is to determine who gets to go first with their picks, and then who will make their favorite and underdog picks first as well. I'm excited about this game. This game is a little topical. Right now, we have an interim head coach in Carolina in Steve Wilks. There's a real good chance that he's going to be joined by another 1 or 2 interim head coaches before the season is through. So we are going to test your knowledge on interim head coaches. I'm going to name you a coach who at one point in his career was an interim head coach. Some of these guys have been hired as full-time. Some of them were never hired full-time. They were just interim head coaches. We're not going way back. All of these guys were interim head coaches since 2010, so it's all recent. I'm going to name the coach. You tell me what team he was the interim head coach for. Now, a couple of these guys have been interim head coaches for more than one team, so if you can name me either of the teams that they've been head coaches for, that will count. All right, so are we all ready to go? Tommy, we are in an even or an odd numbered week, so you are up. And your first coach, Eric Stoodsville.
Eric Stoodsville. I don't know why. I'm just getting Minnesota Vikings vibes here.
Ben, do you want to help him out?
I have no clue. Is that Bronco?
He was the guy who took over for Josh McDaniels when he was fired by the Denver Broncos in 2010. Okay. So we are
I tried to
open.
forget
All
back
right.
then.
Yeah, you've blocked that year out of your mind. I understand. It's something that we've all engaged at one point. I've had to do the same thing. Okay. Moving on. This is to you, Ben. Dan Campbell. Our very own Dan Campbell.
Jacksonville.
Dan Campbell was the interim head coach of the Miami Dolphins in 2015. Of course, now he is the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Okay, Tommy, over to you. Joe Philbin.
That sounds familiar.
Your coach is Joe Philbin.
That sounds very familiar as an interim head coach. Joe Philbin. I don't know. Bengals.
Joe Philbin took over the Green Bay Packers in 2018 after Mike McCarthy was fired and obviously before they hired Matt LaFleur. So this game is going swimmingly right now. All right. Over to you, Ben. Greg Williams. Who is Greg Williams the interim head coach for?
Philadelphia.
Greg Williams took over the Cleveland Browns when Freddie Hitchens was fired. Freddie Kitchens, not Freddie Hitchens. And that was in 2018. So we are 0 for 4 now.
I don't know why I saw green.
Good idea of a game, Kyle. Okay. To you, Tommy. Darrell Bevel.
Darrell Bevel.
Darrell Bevel.
Oh no. Oh no.
He was at one point the offensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I this is tough. I'm gonna
also
go
the Seattle Seahawks, I believe.
I'm gonna go Arizona.
Darrell Bevel was the interim head coach of the Detroit Lions in 2020. And last year, he is the one who took over for the Jacksonville Jaguars after they fired Urban Meyer.
Oh, yeah.
So he has 2 years in a row
That's awful.
been the interim head coach for 2 different teams.
Wow.
Okay.
This is just a terrible, terrible start.
Okay. We may have to flip a coin. Okay. To you, Ben. Raheem Morris. Now, we all know Raheem Morris. He's a great coordinator, but he also at one point was an interim head coach.
Since 2010, I'm going to go with the Tennessee.
Raheem Morris took over the Atlanta Falcons in 2020 on an interim basis. It's a good thing I put together a decent sized list here. Okay. To you, Tommy. Rich Bisaccia.
Rich Bisaccia. Wait. No.
The little gerbil's working. Rich Bisaccia.
Come on, brain. Just move. I can't. It's not putting the pieces together. Rich Bisaccia. Chargers.
That would have been a good pick.
Rich Bisaccia took over the Las Vegas Raiders last year after John Gruden was fired. Took him to the playoffs, and interestingly, he was not hired full time, even though much of the players were hoping that he would be.
I remember that.
That's a Raider thing.
Yeah, very Raider thing to do. Okay, to you, Ben. Mike Mularkey. Mike Mularkey.
The Miami.
Mike Mularkey was hired by the Titans in 2015 and then hired to be their full-time head coach after he served as interim head coach in 2015. Okay. We'll do one more round and then we will
Come on.
Okay.
Give me an easy one.
John Fossil.
John Fossil.
Fossil.
John Fossil.
He is the son of Jim Fossil. He was a special teams coordinator before he became interim head coach. He is still a special teams coordinator now.
Jim Fossil.
No, John Fossil.
No,
Jim Fossil was the
Jim Fossil's dad,
Jim
John
Fossil was the coach
Sorry.
of the Giants who did well as the coach of the Giants.
I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna say the Jets. Another team in MetLife.
No.
John Fossil was the interim head coach of the Los Angeles Rams in 2016 before they hired Sean McVay. Okay, Ben, Romeo Crennel. Romeo Crennel was the interim head coach of two different teams. Name one of them.
Shoot. Well, I know that he got hired here, so I'm just gonna say Kansas City. Let's go.
No.
He was the interim head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs in 2011, hired full-time in 2012, and promptly went 2-14 as the full-time head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Houston Texans hired him as their interim head coach in 2020. That is his second stint as a interim head coach, and we have a winner, thankfully. All right, so that was some pretty good television. If you were listening to that on the podcast and you made it all the way through, give yourself a high five. We appreciate you sticking through it. The quiz master will figure something out a little better next week.
That was embarrassing.
Okay, so
that was rough.
All right, Ben. You are going to go first with your picks, and let's go ahead and get this thing started.
All right.
Your first game, please.
We're going to start off with the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. This is a very crucial game in the AFC North here. Just a game separates them. Both of them are in a tie. There's a two-way tie in first at 3-3, two-way tie at 2-4. Lots of games this week sitting around that 6.5 point, 7 point window. That is dangerous betting grounds. I'm going to say that before, as a caveat before jumping into all of this, because let me tell you, I'm scared about a couple of these. But let's talk about the Ravens and the Browns. I'm going to go with the Browns here at plus 6.5, going into a hostile territory with the Baltimore Ravens. And the main reason that I'm choosing to go with the underdog Browns is I just think that they just lose close. I mean, they're on a 3-game lose streak. Set aside the loss to New England, the loss to the Chargers and the loss to the Falcons were 2-point losses and 3-point losses. And I think that both of those were hard-fought games. I think that Baltimore, though very hyped and Lamar playing very well, I think that they're still hitting a couple of roadblocks and their defense is stumbling a little bit more than they would like. I just like the Cleveland Browns in a statement win for their season, and I hope to keep it alive. I'm going to take the Cleveland Browns at plus 6.5.
So you say statement win. You think they're going to win this outright as well?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I can't back up necessarily the win. But I think that they keep it close. I think that the rush defense of the Ravens, it's really good. And I think Nick Chubb had an off week last week. Think that he comes in and they find the end zone a little bit more.
Well, I've been pretty critical of Kevin Stefanski the last couple of weeks, and this is why. So last week, 45 passing attempts for Jacoby Brissett, 12 rushing attempts for Nick Chubb. And yeah, it's a blowout, so that's why they had to throw the ball. No, it wasn't a blowout the second play of the game when Brissett threw an interception. It wasn't a blowout at halftime. It was 10-6. And at that point, Brissett had 17 pass attempts to 8 rushes for Chubb. It wasn't a blowout on the first possession of the third quarter when they threw the ball 4 times and gave Chubb 1 carry, which was ended up being a punt. I am tired of Kevin Stefanski not using his best player. The Ravens know how to use their best players. I'm going with the Ravens here. I'm so tired of the Browns not understanding what their offense is and should be. So I have to go against you on this one. I think the Ravens, just because I trust John Harbaugh more than I trust Kevin Stefanski right now.
So I'm going to sit in between the two of you, and I'm going to say that the Browns cover the spread and lose. My thought process here is I don't think that after what happened last week, the Browns can just, sit comfortably with their game plan and think that throwing the ball to Jacoby Brissett 40 plus times is good. And against the Ravens, who have a decent defensive back core, I think that they're going to be forced to run the ball a little bit more. And that might be a little hopeful of me, seeing as the last 2 weeks we've seen them struggle to hand the ball off to Nick Chubb. But Nick Chubb doesn't typically have 2 bad games consecutively. He picks it up. And even with...
Well, he didn't have a bad game. He only had 12 carries. I mean,
I'm saying on paper, he didn't have as many yards as we usually see from him. And on paper, I think this week, even with, maybe a lower carry number, I see him getting close to 20, if not more. And I see him having a really good game. But I do think that the Ravens are a better team, and they do know how to utilize their best players more. So I do still think that the Ravens are going to win. But the Cleveland Browns should cover the spread.
All right, fair enough. We are not in total agreement on the Browns and Ravens. All right, moving on to your next game, Ben.
We're scattered.
And Ben, we've lost you. Can you hear us? We have lost your audio.
Oh, wait. Sorry about that.
There we
Can
go.
you hear me?
There we
Okay.
go. We can hear you now.
All good. Cool. I'm going to take us to Dallas for the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott is returning and here to settle the quarterback controversy. Against a Detroit Lions defense that leaves a lot to be desired. I do expect this game to be a shootout. Like I said, if I could find this at like 6.5, love to find that line for Dallas. We're going off our friends at USA Wager consensus bet is said -7. I'm gonna ride with the Cowboys. I'm gonna say that Dak Prescott has himself a great game. Statement win. 2 in a row. Statement win for the Dallas Cowboys here.
No, I'm in agreement with you there. I think that Dak being back makes a huge difference for this team. And sadly, Detroit seems to have regressed back to the Detroit Lions of old. Makes me sad because if they continue this run of losing, which I think they will, we may lose Dan Campbell as a head coach. Former interim head coach Dan Campbell may be gone. So but yeah, I think the Cowboys roll on this one.
I mean, it's sad to say that the Lions aren't good, and it's really just solely the defensive side of the ball that's holding them back at this point. Their offense can be very productive. It's just they can't stop the other team from rolling the ball down the field and scoring. So, playing against, one of the better passing, deep ball passing quarterbacks that we've seen in the last couple of years with Dak, we can get the ball down the field. The -7's pretty lenient, and I think Dallas is going to win by that, if not more.
We are all in agreement there. Dallas Cowboys roll over the Lions. All right, your next game, Ben.
The Indianapolis Colts go to the Tennessee Titans to play a game that I'm absolutely going to have in the smallest window on my screen. These two teams are tied at 3 wins, looking to put themselves above each other, moving up here in the standings. And the reason I'm going to have this on the smallest window of my screen is because both of these offenses, they're hard to watch. They're slow. The dog is in agreement. I'm not even gonna lie with you. If the dog agrees, it's a hard time because the dog doesn't understand English, and even they know. The dog doesn't know football, and they know that both of these offenses. It's a hard task to watch. The one thing that I will say for Indianapolis is that so to much to everyone's surprise, they're actually third in the league right now for pass yards. Believe it or not, I think I think their passing game puts them over the edge here. When against a Tennessee team coming off of a bye, could be finding a new identity because they were having a lot of identity issues on the offensive side of the ball. With Derrick Henry, expect them to be really successful in the run game. Didn't look like necessarily like what we were expecting. Tennessee not looking like the team we were expecting. Uh, and somehow quietly, the Colts have found themselves in a wild card position early on in the season. I'm just going to take the Indianapolis Colts here at plus 2.5. I also like them to win the game. In an important yet quiet division game.
First of all, I'm disappointed that you're automatically assuming the dog doesn't know football. You obviously aren't familiar with the sports documentary Air Bud about the dog who actually played some pretty good football. And second, let me be the first to apologize to Matt Ryan. We were giving him his last rites. He was a corpse. We were ready to bury him. He threw the ball 58 times last week. 58. He hasn't thrown the ball 58 times since 2013. So I'm sure he needed extra time in the jacuzzi, extra time with the massage therapist. That his old body working still like that. I mean, he had 379 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he just had a great game. Matt Ryan, I apologize. Not that I think that you are where I thought you were 6 weeks ago, but you're not quite where I thought you were last week. So congrats to him. I do have one note. I mentioned this last week that when Ron Torbert is the official, that the under hits at almost 80% of the time. Last week it was 20. The under was 28-9-1. He then was the referee for the Chargers and Broncos game. That obviously went under. He's now 29-9-1 since 2020 as the referee of the under. So I'm not going to touch this spread because I don't really have any good feeling about this game. But you better believe I'm hammering that under. Ron Torbert, my under machine. I'm doing the Torbert under on that game.
So I'm a little conflicted here because I watched the game. It's my job. I saw Matt Ryan play, and I was taken aback. But it's just really tough for me to think that it's going to be consistent. Firstly, he's playing Jacksonville, and Jacksonville is not incredible in their pass defense at the moment. And there was a lot of there was a little bit of blown coverage here and there that Matt Ryan took advantage of. But I know Tennessee isn't in that upper echelon either. But I just don't see him repeating his level of success. I guess I agree with the plus 2.5 here because I think Indianapolis is a slightly better team than Tennessee. And at this point, it's kind of a pick 'em. It's one or the other. It's not really going to be a 1-point game. That's from my perspective. But I don't know. I'm not touching this game, to be honest with you.
Join me on the under, the Torbert under.
Under. We're going for the under.
Making money. All right.
Big bang.
Okay. Ben, your next game, please.
Gosh, I wish I had the opportunity to take to not have to pick some of these, but here we go with yet another 7-point window going to Sin City, Las Vegas, and Houston Texans. Dudes, I'm not gonna lie to you. I struggle to find anything that the Texans are good at. Honestly, it's a hard slog for the Houston Texans when you look at it on paper. But there's something about them, dude. They keep games close. They have a lot of fight in them. They lose. The Vegas Raiders, on the other hand, coming off of a bye, they're what are they? They're like 1-4.
1-4.
Their lone win over a football team that I could barely qualify as a team right now, if we're being honest. But in true Raider fashion, their games are close too. and in the games that you expect them to win by a large margin, uh, sometimes it's really close, and a lot of times they lose. Uh, I really hope they don't screw me here, but it would be the most Raider thing for them to do. And I couldn't even fault them for it. It's my fault for walking into the trap. I do see the bear trap around the cupcake. I just, however, really would like the cupcake. I'm gonna go with the Vegas Raiders here at -7. And when this doesn't hit, at least I'll feel happy because the Raiders it sucked. I
Well,
don't know.
well, you've got your prop here for this game too. So, um, you wanna tell us about your newfound love of Derek Carr?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I was looking around, didn't find a lot of player props. So I was like, what's something that I feel is 100% gonna happen? Uh, Derek Carr's gonna find the end zone twice, right? Like at least, right? I mean, it would be the most Raider thing in the world for him not to. So keep that in mind. But uh, Derek Carr's, for all the crap I give him, he's good enough, and it is the Houston Texans. This is a bet against the Texans, not a bet for the Raiders. Derek Carr over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Well, now that he and Devontae Adams seem to have found themselves, I feel like this is a pretty solid prop. It's why it's one or minus 125 because obviously Vegas believes it's going to happen too. But hey, if it's easy money, go ahead and take it. That's what I say. So I like it. Tommy, your feelings about the venerable Houston Texans?
This is ugh.
It's
Ew.
okay. You don't have to have any feelings about the Texans.
Ew. I have very negative feelings towards the Raiders because I was so high on them coming into this year. And coming out 1-4 is just not what you really want
They're
from
the
them.
best 1-4 team, probably.
That's fair. And that's what I'm going to lead into. A team that's 1-4, keeping it that close with a team like the Chiefs, it shows that they still have they play up to good teams to an extent, and they play down to bad teams, and they play really far down. So really, they can be competitive with every team in the NFL. It's just whether they choose to be. That's the problem. And I think that the -7, because they're going to play down, but they're not going to play so far down to the Texans level. And the Texans have almost zero shining spots on their roster other than, a nice little rookie running back. But the -7 looks
He leads the AFC South in rushing. He has more rushing yards than both Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry. So,
which is wild to
stud.
me. But I really do like the Raiders here. I don't like the Raiders in general, but I'll take the -7, and I do like the prop a lot too. It's probably going to be
Cool.
a hit.
All right. One last look at that prop before we move on to your next game. Derek Carr over 1.5 passing touchdowns. All right, Ben, your last game, please.
Yeah, we're going to go Miami and Pittsburgh here. Friends, the quarterback rotation has once again landed on Tua Tagovailoa. And the good news is, unlike the rest of us who saw the play and have it ingrained in our memory, he doesn't remember it at all, which is great because if he did, he may not want to play this sport ever again. But luckily for all of us, he's going to put it all on the line for us, and he's going to go out there, and he's going to play, and he's going to, he's going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers by way more than 7. In fact, I would take this line no matter which of the 3 quarterbacks were playing for the Miami Dolphins.
Wow.
The game that they played against Tampa, listen, Mitchell Trubisky came in and played wonderful. You really think that Mitchell Trubisky is going to continue this streak of wonderfulness? Or what? You get banged up Kenny Pickett? I guess he's still questionable, so it's not really
He got full practice in, but he still hasn't passed concussion protocol yet. So yeah, it's still up in the air.
maybe we get Kenny Pickett. Who knows? Either way, I didn't see enough impressed. I think that was more speaking to the implosion happening in Tampa more than to the strength of Pittsburgh. I'm gonna go with Miami -7 here.
We have fun on Twitter on Sundays, and this last Sunday, we asked a question. Let me move that graphic here out of the way so we can see the whole thing. The most dangerous job in America, and it was a overwhelming vote in favor of Dolphins quarterback. So this has now been 3 games in a row where they have failed to finish the game. 4 games in a row where the starting quarterback has failed to finish the game due to injury. And we're just hoping that Tua can make it through 60 minutes of football, because that is not something that is happening very often with the Dolphins. But we are on Twitter on Sundays. We talk about the Dolphins, and we also want to give a little plug in for our TikTok. We also now have a TikTok. Now, Tommy, our youngest member, is in charge of the TikTok, and they've put me in charge of the MySpace page. I don't know if I should find that as an insult or not, but yeah, join us over on MySpace as well. I'll be there, figuring out why nobody actually is responding. But make sure you follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok at NFL_PPP for those of you who are listening and can't see any of the graphics that we're putting up. But in terms of the most dangerous job in America, Dolphins quarterback beat out coal miner and logger. And, I like Tua. I like this offense with Tua. I think that this team is going to be considerably better with Tua back at quarterback. And I agree with you, Ben. This is going to be an easy win for the Miami Dolphins over a Pittsburgh Steelers team that's just not very good.
If we were in college football right now, this is like when Bama pays, Alabama Southern to go to Bama and play them for a good $2 million. This is almost a cupcake game for the Dolphins, and it's a game for Tua to get back.
I bet the Tampa Bay Buccaneers thought the same thing.
Oh well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can just shut up and leave me alone, because I'm sick of talking about them and watching them play football. I like the Dolphins here.
Going back to that graphic, though, oh my goodness. Guess, Miami quarterbacks and, football fans during primetime games have something in common. You can't last through the whole game. It puts you to sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's been miserable out here, but we struggled through trying to make the bets and make the picks as always.
Speaking of boring primetime games, so this is a primetime game. This is Monday night's game. And just a fun little fact, this season, the under, I'm hitting the under. I got my Torbert under. The primetime unders right now are 13-6. So if you're tuning into a primetime game hoping for an explosion of offense, that hasn't been happening. 13-6 are your unders for your primetime games. And this certainly could be one of those as well.
Well, that's just in general across the league. Look at the Buffalo-Kansas City game. You expect that game to go into the 30s, the 40s possibly.
Yeah.
It was 24-20. Oh
it was 20-17 with a minute and a half to go. I mean, they didn't break 40 points as a total until right at the end of the game. So yeah, scoring is down. It's hard to know exactly why, because there seemed to be no shortage of great quarterbacks, but scoring is down. All right, Tommy, you have some games for us. It's going to move you to the top box there, the big box.
Ooh, I got the big box.
Big box, and go ahead and start us off with your first game, please.
All right, so we're going to start it off real hot with the Atlanta Falcons visiting the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Atlanta Falcons sit at +6.5. And it's really hard to pick against the Falcons right now, especially since they're undefeated against the spread. And they have been very successful even without Patterson, who is arguably their best offensive player at the moment. And I don't trust the Bengals' consistency. I don't trust the offensive line in this game. I do like the Bengals to win, but +6.5 gives a lot of wiggle room for the Falcons. And they, after last week, beating up on, even though they're an injured defense, one of the better defenses in the NFL schematically, they just did the work on them. So I got to pick Atlanta +6.5.
Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. As long as they keep winning against the spread, I'm going to keep taking them. 6.5 is a decent number. If this was 4, I might think twice about it, but at 6.5, I like the Falcons. And like you said, the Bengals aren't blowing people out. They're still, even though Chase and Burrow hooked up a couple of times last week against New Orleans, the game still was close. So yeah, I like the Falcons.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I hate these 6.5 point windows. But yeah, Atlanta Falcons 6.5. Let's do it.
Excellent. Falcons it is. Okay, your next game, please, Tommy.
My next game is a fun little game for Ben here. The Jets are going and traveling to Denver, and I'm picking the Jets +1 here. It is a pick 'em here, and Denver is just they're just not a good football team. And somehow, I don't know if it's whether their defense is good or opposing offenses are just bad, but other teams just don't know how to score against Denver either. So that's a bit of an issue for the Jets. However, the Jets have found very creative ways to beat strong defenses. They're pretty well rounded, even with mediocre quarterback play from Zach Wilson at the moment. He's not playing up to standard, but I don't think it's going to be a very fun game to watch. I don't think any Broncos games are very fun to watch, but the Jets have a lot of sparks in their young offense, and I think the +1 as an underdog, especially with superior record, is just throws me for a loop a little bit.
Ben, you want to go ahead and take this first?
I don't even know why we're favored to win. What an absolute what trap are they trying to set? I don't know. The Broncos, man, what a horrible state of affairs we're in. Melvin Gordon basically gets benched after 3 carries, and then the coach is going to come out the next week and go, hey, you know what? That's going to be the guy starting. He can't make up his mind. We are a third of the way into the season, and he's still showing that he shouldn't be trusted with the keys to the car. And then you look at Russell Wilson. He's looking pretty bad, and he does what often bad quarterbacks do when they play for the Denver Broncos. They pray to God. The only difference is he's not winning in overtime. He's not winning in the fourth quarter. He's not coming up clutch like Tebow did. Can you believe that? Tebow gave Bronco fans more reason to have hope. You would have never seen a Bronco fan leave the stadium at the start of overtime with number 15 under center, and that is a sad state. That's just the state of Bronco football, and that's a fact. No Bronco fan with any right mind would have left the stadium with Tebow, but with Russell Wilson, a quarterback that we were told was going to take us to the Super Bowl, that told us we were going to be, let's ride. They made a whole campaign over his stupid slogan that he came up with. That's not a Broncos thing. That's a Russell Wilson thing. And the whole team changed its identity for this man, and he's letting the team down. And yes, he's injured. I will give him that. And yes, I still think that he can turn it around. But the facts are the facts right now. The Broncos are in one of the worst states you can be in. They are bad and without draft picks in the near future. The only hope is that Russell Wilson turns it around. And that's crazy because this orange Kool-Aid is starting to taste pretty darn good. It's starting to taste pretty darn good. And I'm gonna end up with it. And that's the end. The Broncos, a bad team. I like the picks with the Jets. And this is a bad time to be a Broncos fan.
Hey, I mean, you have one thing that you can at least not worry about is, Russell Wilson's got that Wolverine blood, so he'll be good in no time.
Oh, no.
He's all good to go. He's all set.
Oh man.
Huh. See, I'm disappointed. I thought you would have had something to say about this, but apparently not. You haven't given it obviously any thought. I had to write a thing. I was writing matchups that to look forward to for each game. And I struggle with this game, but I really do. I came up with one that I think we can all focus on, and it's Patrick Surtain versus Sauce Gardner. I know they're not going to be on the field at the same time, but the nice thing is that they're always on the field. At least one of them is always on the field. And let's just look at what these guys did last week. So Patrick Surtain, did not allow a single reception in coverage last week. That's the second time this year he hasn't allowed a reception. Just 142 yards allowed on the season on 35 targets. It's an absolute stud. And then you got Sauce Gardner last week, 6 targets, 1 completion for 8 yards. He had 3 pass breakups. He now has a league lead of 7 pass breaks up. And I just wanted to break down Sauce real quick so that we so here's Sauce against Alan Lazard. And right now Sauce is getting beat. Lazard's got a good 6 yards on him. But here we are at the end of that play. Sauce making a play, breaking it up. He's got that closing speed. He's got that instinct. And I just love watching him play. I love watching, I love watching Patrick Surtain play as well. So yeah, it's the Denver Broncos are not a fun team to watch, but they do still have some fun players to watch. I like the Jets to win this game. And this is the 7th week in a row that they've been the underdog. When is somebody going to make them a favorite? If not this game, then when? I like the Jets, but I do like watching Surtain. I think this is going to be another low scoring game because Tommy, I know you said that you think maybe it's the offenses aren't playing well against the Broncos. I think this defense is really that good. They are 4th in the league in points allowed. The downside is that they are last in the league in points scored. So that defense right now is being wasted. But yeah, I'm going to watch both defenses. And as a slow nose tackle, when I played back in high school, I love watching guys who could do things that I could never dream of, which is why I like watching cornerbacks. And these are probably the 2 best young quarterbacks in football right now on the field. So I'm looking forward to that. All right. So enough about the New York Jets and Denver Broncos. Let's moving on to another West Coast game for you.
Oh yeah, we're back in the West. Seattle Seahawks traveling to the LA Chargers, and I'm going to pick the Seahawks +5 here. And this is going to be a close game. The Chargers defense has not been spectacular, and the 1-2 punch of Kenny Walker and Geno Smith has been dynamic. The Seahawks defense has proven to be good. I mean, at least somewhat, holding off the Cardinals to only 9 points last week. I think they lose, but play fairly well. This is tough for me because I think that since Justin Herbert's injury, he has been a little bit inconsistent. And I don't know if that has to do with the injury itself or just the games he's been playing, but he hasn't played his first half of the first quarter or third of the season, or the first eighth of the season, we'll say. First couple games, he played MVP caliber. And then, he had a couple games where it's like, all right, last game doesn't throw a touchdown. That people are saying that the NFL is rigged because, Vegas had his his touchdown line pretty nice. But, it's just I don't know how to feel. It could go either way. I think that the Seahawks secondary is playing fairly well, especially that young guy over there, Woolen. He's playing great. I think they're going to do a good job.
He leads the NFL in interceptions now. Four games in a row with a pick. Yeah, he's a stud.
He's a stud, and I really like them +5 here.
Yeah, I don't have strong feelings. I don't trust the Chargers. They should have. Russell Wilson and the Broncos defense threw for the ball for minus 13 yards after halftime, and the Chargers still had to go to overtime to win. And the Chargers didn't do anything in overtime. They had 18 total yards. They didn't get a first down. They just got lucky with a muffed punt. So the Chargers didn't go out and win that game. So I have no reason to believe in the Chargers until they actually show some moxie here. Keenan Allen, who knows when he's going to be back? He's been in, I think, 20 total snaps all season. They barely looked at Mike Williams, even though he's a mammoth of a guy. It doesn't matter if he's covered. Throw it up. Mike Williams was going to go up and get it. I don't like what this offense does. They run all these hitch routes, and you've got a guy with a 70-yard cannon, and you're doing these like 6-yard dunk plays. I just don't understand what the Chargers are about. So I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Seahawks here.
The Chargers aren't good enough to be going on fourth down as often as they do. And I screw the analytics, screw the book, screw Staley's like gut instinct. His gut instinct also says let Justin Herbert, a generational talent, play injured, and hurt. Just let him sit. Let Chase Daniels play. I'm still under the impression that this Chargers team would probably be better if Chase Daniels was at the helm, because I think Justin's injury is just never getting better because he's constantly getting hit. They're throwing the ball so often while he's injured. I love the Seattle Seahawks here at +5.
Excellent. We're all in agreement on the Seahawks. Okay, Tommy, your last game, please.
My last game is another game in New England where Chicago's going to go, fight it off in Foxborough. The Chicago Bears are atrocious. I don't have any fun watching this game. Justin Fields had some ups and downs last week. There's little bits and pieces of a decent quarterback in there, but you're playing against the New England Patriots and Bailey Zappi, I don't think he's starting this week. I'm not 100% sure, but from what I'm hearing, Mac Jones is back.
I think Bailey Zappi is starting based on what.
So he is starting, regardless.
Yeah.
Regardless, Bailey Zappi,
yeah,
throwing for
I could start,
yards.
and then the Bears would still suck. Yeah.
There's honestly, I'm just gonna leave it there. The Bears suck. That's it. Patriots -8.
Well, look, Bill Belichick. So Bill Belichick ties George Halas for second most wins last week. Now he gets to break George Halas's or pass George Halas against the Bears. I will say I find Belichick rubs me the wrong way a lot, but he was very magnanimous in talking about passing Halas and being up there with passing Paul Brown earlier. And he said, I don't belong in the same category as George Halas and Paul Brown. These were guys who changed football, who created the NFL, created the coaching profession. I'm just somebody who's benefited from them. I liked that. In talking about Mac Jones and his availability, they were asking Belichick about it. And in absolute total Belichick fashion, I wanted to play you the clip of Bill Belichick answering the question about when Mac Jones would be returning from his injury. And I want you to know that while this is edited together, none of these are repeats. Okay, so here we go.
Take that day by day, see how it goes. Take it day by day. Just take it day by day. We're not really doing anything differently. Day by day, Phil. Day by day. That's the plan. Day by day. Day by day is getting better. See how it goes. Day by day. Day
there is
just keep going.
Just keep interrupting. There's nobody like Bill Belichick in the history of the NFL. Oh, he's still going. There's nobody like Bill Belichick in the history of the NFL. Obviously, he's the winningest Super Bowl head coach ever. Whether or not he catches Don Shula is another matter, but he's for sure going to pass George Halas this week. The Bears are awful, as you said. The Bears suck. So, Patriots all day.
Chicago Bears are a rugby team trying to play American football. I like the New England Patriots -8 at home, big win.
A rugby team's gonna play better against American football players. At least they can hit without pads on. Chicago can't make a tackle with them. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
No, they're all bad. Okay. Thank you very much, Tommy. Those are your 4 games. Now we've got 4 more games left to go. These are my games now. We're going to begin with the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders. And look, I made apologies to Matt Ryan earlier. I want to make apologies to Carson Wentz. He's not going to play. He broke his finger. So Taylor Heineke, who we've seen in the past, is going to get to start. He's going to be starting for probably the next month or so while the ring finger on Carson's throwing hand heals. But I did want to give him a shout out for last week. Now, he only threw for 99 yards, so he's not getting a shout out for that. But here's Carson sizing up Roquan Smith on this this play near the goal line. And you're like, no, Carson, you are made of glass. You cannot be throwing this block. Carson, get away from him. And then boom, Carson lays out Roquan Smith, pancakes him, and they pick up an extra 4 yards on the carry. So Carson, we've given you a lot of grief about being a bit soft. This was a stud play. Now he didn't break his finger on this play, so this wasn't the costly play that it could have been. But I just loved it. And Roquan Smith held out this summer because he thinks he needs a big contract. Don't get pancaked by the quarterback if you want big money. That's I think that's a pretty solid rule there. So Carson, apologies to you, man. You are a stud, but your team is not good. I like Brian Robinson, and he's a great story, and I love watching him run. He runs really hard, but I know that the Packers just got their butts handed to them. But Aaron Rodgers is pissed. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, and the Commanders are one of the biggest jokes in the NFL. Daniel Snyder aside, the roster just isn't very good. I like the Packers to cover this spread. I think they win here by 10 points. Aaron Rodgers makes a statement that that he's still the man in the NFC. So there you go. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers cover this spread.
Green Bay is 100% covering this spread. I mean, there's not really much of a doubt in my mind. I mean, but I do have a little bit of a soft spot for the Commanders, and I have very much a soft spot for Taylor Heineke because, for a guy, I've talked about PJ Walker, even though his abysmal game last week. I can't even go into that.
We'll talk about PJ here coming up. We still got some PJ.
Yeah, but those XFL guys, I think that Taylor Heineke is a great story as well. I mean, nowhere near as great a story as Brian Robinson. That one's incredible. But, in his own regard, he's come through a lot of adversity. And I think that he will have a good game against Green Bay because for some reason, he finds a way to have pretty good games against these ancient quarterbacks. His start against Tom Brady in the playoffs, where that diving touchdown.
That's where we all fell in love with him, yeah.
That's where we all fell in love. And now, we're back here. He's coming back in, getting another opportunity against Aaron Rodgers. I can see a little repeat happening,
I guess I'm gonna be where Tommy was earlier in the day. I'm gonna be here in the opposite here in the middle. I'm gonna say Washington covers but doesn't win? Question mark. I listen. I don't want to tell you my true feelings about the Commanders. I'm scared what certain individuals may or may not know about me.
Daniel Snyder's got some information.
I would hate for that to be leaked anywhere. But the Commanders are not that great of a football team. But Taylor Heineke has this energy around him that just makes you want to play for the dude. And you know what? I think that in a big moment for them, you know what? This could be their Super Bowl. This could be what they talk about for the season. I like the Washington Commanders at +5.
I heard a fun little story about the Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke interaction in the locker room. This might not be true at all, but from what I read, Carson walks into the locker room, goes with Taylor, says, I think I might have broken my finger. And then Taylor goes, I hope you're joking because I was planning to play a lot of golf this weekend or something along those lines. So, I think gets the mind off the golf, gets locked in.
I almost forgot my prop actually comes from this game. It is going to be it's a touchdown prop. Now you can do individually. You can do Brian Robinson or Romeo Dobbs, and they're paying +165 to score a touchdown. I'm going to put them together. I think that we get a touchdown from both Brian Robinson and Romeo Dobbs, and that pays me $675. So I'm jumping on that. I might go ahead and do both as individuals as well, just to cover my bases. But I think both of them are good bets to score. Robinson clearly has become the featured guy there in Washington. And I think, again, Rodgers only has really 2 targets to throw to with Cobb going down, Dobbs being one of them and Tanyan being the other. And so I guess Lazard every now and then, but he loves Dobbs. They've got a good connection. I think he finds the end zone. That's my prop for the week.
That's beautiful. +675. That is a steal.
I like it.
You're robbing Vegas right now.
There's no such thing. Okay, moving on to my next game. This is, again, another team, another New York team begging for some respect. The New York Giants are 5-1. They've beaten in back-to-back weeks now Aaron Rodgers and Lamar Jackson. Those are your last 3 MVP awards that the Giants just beat. And they can't be favored against the Jacksonville Jaguars? I mean, come on. What is happening here? So I've got some notes here about the Jags. Let me find my paperwork here. The Jags. So part of the reason why the Jags have gone from being this wonderful darling start to now this team that looks like the Jags of old. So Trayvon Walker gets a sack in that first game, and we're all like, oh, the number 1 pick overall. He's a stud. He now has 12 pressures on the season and 187 snaps. Only one player has fewer pressures with as many snaps. All of a sudden, the defense has just stopped playing. So Trevor Lawrence actually last week completed 90% of his passes. He scored 3 total touchdowns, passing and running, no turnovers, and he lost. It's the first time that's happened to anybody ever in the Super Bowl era, to have those kind of benchmark numbers and to lose the game. And it's because suddenly this Jaguars defense is not good. And being not good means that even though Daniel Jones has limitations, he'll be fine against this defense. Saquon Barkley will be fine against this defense. And I love the way the Giants defense is playing right now. Wake Martindale figured out how to stop Lamar Jackson. He's, of course, faced Jackson in practice for 4 years, but he goes into Jacksonville. This team, look, you're 5-1 and you're getting points. I'm taking those points. So I am rolling with the Giants here, and I'm taking my field goal.
I am a huge fan of this pick. I think that the Giants win this game. And I think my prop is from this game.
It is indeed
certain.
from this game, yes. We'll throw that up here on the screen.
To almost back up your statement on the Jaguars defense, I think Saquon with the over on 84.5 rushing yards. And then Jacksonville, I think that the Giants have done a very good job of keeping games to a low scoring number, whether it be on both ends, because they sometimes have trouble getting the ball in the end zone, but they've also made it difficult for other teams to get the ball in the end zone.
Yep.
And the under on 22.5 points, you prop those two guys together, you get plus 290. And I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, Barkley, your only challenge is Jacksonville, but like you said, this defense has been holding good quarterbacks under that number. I like Trevor Lawrence, but he's not Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I like this pick.
Yeah, no, I like the pick. I like the bet, or the prop bet. I think the Giants are underrated. Like we said last week, it's time to start looking at teams. They are who they are now. There is no, the Giants are a good team, like it or not. Are they the best team? No, but no one said that you have to be the best team to be at the top of the league. They are a good team. We need to put some respect on them, and the fact that they are underdogs is criminal.
All right. We all like the Giants. We now have one last game to get to. It's a game taking place out in Santa Clara, California, for a team that somehow, even though Santa Clara is not really right next door to San Francisco, still calls itself the San Francisco 49ers. And a little team named the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be visiting the San Francisco Santa Clara 49ers. Now, the last time these two teams played, they were playing for this. This was at stake the last time they played. And a little team out of a plucky Midwestern town called Kansas City, even though it's in Missouri, let's not get into semantics, won that game. Came from behind. Patrick Mahomes, 3 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes. Patrick gets the MVP. The Chiefs lift the Lombardi Trophy. And the 49ers continue to be stuck on, I don't know, what do you guys got, like 2 trophies total or something like that? Or maybe it's 5 or 6. I don't know. Something. Who keeps track of what happened in the 1980s? Anyway, look, the 49ers are a very good team when they are healthy. They're just not healthy. So last week against the Falcons, they either had 7 defensive players who didn't play or who left the game injured. 7 defensive starters who didn't play or left the game injured. I've got the injury list here is absolutely unreal. So these are all the guys that have been on the injury report this week. You've got Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, Jimmy Ward, Charvarius Ward, Mike McGlinchey, Eric Armstead, Samson Ebukam, and Talanoa Hufanga. And that doesn't include guys who are already out like Elijah Mitchell and Emmanuel Mosley and, of course, Trey Lance. We've talked about this week in and week out. You've got to be good, but you've got to be lucky also. The 49ers are super unlucky right now, and it is not lucky to catch the Chiefs on a week where so many of their guys are banged up. Now, some of those guys are going to play, but they're not 100%. A lot of those guys won't play. And the Chiefs, the Chiefs lost last week, but to the Bills, they lost to the best team in the NFL when they were within a stop or two of winning that game. I think they go into San Francisco. I know that the 49ers would like to exact a little bit of revenge. The Bills got a little bit of revenge last week. The 49ers would love to follow that up with this week, but they just don't have the personnel right now to do it. Maybe they can work their way to a rematch in February, but here in late October, they just aren't going to do it. The Chiefs covered the spread, and I think they cover the spread pretty comfortably.
Okay, I agree. Ben, start talking.
You sure you don't want to talk more about that?
What am I
Son?
supposed to say? My whole team is in the trainer's office right now, getting all bandaged up and getting, deep tissue massages and aren't playing. I got nothing. The Chiefs would cover this spread if we had a fully healthy team, and we'd be making the same goddamn pick.
The line for the trainer's office has gotten so long that they've actually they hired an office in San Jose. There's an office in Santa Cruz. They've got guys going across the bridge over to Walnut Creek. The whole Bay Area is been shut down to treat injured 49ers players. It's like mass casualty event up there. It's like it's a good thing it's earthquake territory because they're used to dealing with a lot of injuries all at the same time. And that's what's happened with the 49ers right now. All of the doctor's offices. You can't get a doctor's appointment right now. You have to wait. You have to wait till March.
With all due respect, I've heard enough.
All right.
Dick now. Okay. Have I crossed over into being a dick?
All I'm gonna say is the Chiefs are covering. I'm being respectful. I'm being respectful. I'm admitting my losses. Ben, after you.
I got good news for both for both teams here. The Kansas City Chiefs are atrocious against the spread. Good news, Chiefs Kingdom. Hey, guess what? You're gonna cover. -2.5 seems pretty easy to take here. Good news, San Francisco 49ers. Heard the nurse's office got some juice boxes and cookies. So that sounds like a win for
they have animal crackers?
Squad. Probably.
I gotta head over there now.
They got one. They need
I
one
need
of those
some
big
therapeutic animal crackers for all this pain that I've gone through.
They need one of those big buckets from Sam's Club. They need 2 or 3 of those with how
Only the
many people they
frosted
got
ones,
over
though.
there.
I don't want
Yeah,
to
no, I like Kansas City to cover this one. 2.5, wildly small spread. Kansas City has been in some closer ones. Dolphins isn't scoring as much points as recency bias over the past couple of seasons may lead you to believe. I still think they get it done by a field goal, though, or a field goal at least. I like the Kansas City Chiefs.
So Tommy, I take no joy in that because I've said this too. I always prefer to see teams healthy. I want to beat the good teams when everybody's healthy. And maybe we'll get a chance to revisit this in February. I hope so, because really, as much as the Eagles are a good story, I would rather the 49ers be the team that represents the NFC in the Super Bowl. I still think that they are the best team in the NFC West, and I think that the Rams are not good. I think the Seahawks have limitations, and the Cardinals are the Cardinals. So get healthy, and I think the 49ers are still going to be in line for a deep playoff run. So that is the end of our 13 games. It is now time for us to move on to our favorites, our top dogs, and our easy money lines. Ben, you were the lone person who was able to successfully guess a team with an interim head coach. Again, the quizmaster apologizes for how that went. So Ben, please give us your favorite of the week.
Before we do this really quick, going off of what you said, hey, you know what? I don't care if a team's beat up. If Russell Wilson looks like the old Russell Wilson against a beat up third string squad, we'll take that in Broncos country. I don't need to beat the best when they're healthy. A W is a W.
But he looked
with
like that. He looked like that against the Colts. So like, what? When is he gonna look good?
Third stringers. Okay. Going to, was it my favorite or my
Your
favorite
favorite, please.
My favorite of the week, sticking with that last game, I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Chiefs at -2.5. Oftentimes this bites me in the rear. I don't think
I believe
so.
it bit you last week, in fact.
Probably did. Yeah.
Yes, in fact, you did go with the Chiefs. Well, you went with the Chiefs as your underdog of the week last week, and that did not work out. So,
but you know what underdog is going to work out is the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, Indy is your underdog. Okay, and your easy money line pick.
My easy money line pick is going to be. It's going to be Indianapolis again.
All right. I've got +115 for Indy.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I lied to you. It's actually going to be the New York Giants at +135.
You stole it.
Oh, helmet caught that one.
If you wanted to get the Giants, you should have studied your interim head coaches. I don't know what else to tell you.
It's very relevant to my daily life.
Put your studies on hold and spend some time reading about interim head coaches.
Yeah,
the information is out there.
Because my university studies really do need a break right now.
Okay, so you got your 3 picks. Tommy, your 3 picks, please. Beginning with your favorite.
I had a bit of I got 2 of my picks stolen from Ben here, but he won, so he gets his little reign. I was gonna go with the Chiefs, but because they are behind, I'm gonna have to go with the Dolphins here. That looks like an easy win to me.
Miami -7. All right. Your top dog, please.
Top dog? Well, because he didn't take the Giants here, I'm going to take the Giants here on my top dog.
Giants +3. Okay. And your money line pick, please.
And then for my money line, I'm going to switch with what Ben was going to say. I'm going to take that Indy +115.
Okay.
It seems pretty lenient.
Indy +115. All right. For me, I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys as my top or my favorite at -7. My top dog is going to be the Atlanta Falcons at +6.5. And I am going to moneyline the Kansas City Chiefs at -140. Yes, it's not a huge payday, but I need a win. And any money is good money.
You're in the win column right now. So
I'm in the win column, yes.
That's money. That's actually really great value.
-140 on the money line for the Chiefs. All right. Week 7 is in the books. Well, Week 7 show is. Obviously, Week 7 is still to come. Thank you very much for tuning in, either on our YouTube channel or through the podcast. We appreciate it. Please follow us on Twitter at NFL_PPP and TikTok, also at NFL_PPP. Thank you very much to our sponsors at USAwager.com. We are part of the Noop Sports 2.0 network. We are proudly all writers for Noop Sports, and that is why we are so good at making NFL picks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Happy betting, everybody. Good luck this weekend.